shall be as gods!
Even if I go to hell, I will see the end of this world. Even if I go to hell, I will live to the end of this world. And if the world does not come to an end, I will destroy it with my own hands.
Because I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that rumor, but now it's like reported like it's a fact.
I think it's still just a rumor.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And here's the question: what about Game Boy Advance? It's frankly,
Those are, well, that's a different system, right? So
well, yeah.
that'd be the equivalent of
But-
putting the NES and SNES up together. So I think that would have to come later.
Well, yeah, I got you. But my point is, there was actually a rumor or confirmed report that there are 4 emulators already built into the Switch. And so I didn't know if that was NES, SNES. I assume a Game Boy emulator would just have to be one thing.
Yeah.
Whether
Well,
it's
that's the
color
problem.
or original.
They should have just made a Game Boy Advance emulator to begin with because they can play Game Boy games. Like, even any Game Boy Advance emulator. I don't have a standard Game Boy
Well-
emulator. I use a Game Boy Advance emulator for it.
But is it technically the same engine?
No,
I don't
that's
know.
the thing. But the engine for the Game Boy Advance was built to play Game Boy games as well. So if you emulate the Game Boy Advance, you actually can play Game Boy games in it. I play all of my
Okay.
Game Boy games in the Game Boy Advance engine.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Because I assumed that, because I know the Game Boy Advance could play Game Boy games, I assumed it just had a separate emulator.
No.
for those.
Well, because you had to think, with how restrictive the handheld material was at the time, you couldn't do that. There wasn't enough memory in the system to run an emulator, right? All the memories were in
Yeah.
the card. It doesn't come until, the DS has an operating system that can handle having an emulator inside of it.
Yeah.
So the Game Boy
Interesting.
Advance was built around the idea of being able to play Game Boy games.
What I was really surprised at
Yeah.
was that the 3DS had to have an emulator to play DS games,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I was
they-
like,
they were so different
I
in
just
framework.
assumed, I just assumed they were basically the same, but apparently not.
Yeah.
And which is evidenced by the fact that Citra cannot play DS games.
It would be really cool, though, if they just built Citra to have a functioning DS emulator in it, even if it, comes with, I don't know, rebuilding, tearing apart and rebuilding the emulator that's already in the 3DS for that stuff, because then it would be a better functioning DS emulator than any DS emulator on the market. Since all of them
Yeah, but I
suck.
mean, they could probably they'd probably sooner just include something. Like Melon DS is good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've tried that.
I've tried it. It's
It's
good
better than
for
Desmume.
certain ROMs. Like it's highly optimized for the most popular things.
Yeah.
But they patch it for each individual game. And there's some more obscure stuff that it's just kind of like jittery on.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the problem, is a lot of their things are like a lot of emulators, because of how different newer and newer game engines are, have to be updated for independent games. They have to be optimized for each one. Even Citra has a list of optimization. Like,
yeah,
it'll show you in the thing too, with it sitting there, is this optimized well? Is this unknown? So on and so forth.
Yeah, but so why do those games work on an actual 3DS then? I don't understand that.
Well, I think it's because emulation isn't perfect. It's not actually recreating the hardware. It's emulating the hardware, right? So running it on hardware is different than running it on an operating system that's mimicking the hardware. You don't have the actual hardware in your computer.
Yeah. It's interesting that they can't be done apparently to perfectly emulate exactly what the hardware does.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with emulation in the first place, right? So that's like, we see this problem with modern games. Some games run better on, say, certain NVIDIA graphics cards than they do on AMD graphics cards, and vice versa, right? Depending on how the game was programmed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all the games for the 3DS were programmed to run specifically on the graphics chip in the 3DS. With whatever interactions the programmer built for that. And now you're running it off of your computer's like video unit, right? Your GPU. But in the emulator, they are emulating the processes of the graphics chip in the 3DS. So now you're getting a bunch of funky interactions from this emulated version of a physical chip.
Yeah.
It's a hardware problem. At the end of the day, it's always going to be a hardware problem. Some hardware is easier to emulate, though, like more simplistic stuff. You don't really have a problem emulating the NES or the SNES or the Game Boy or Game Boy Advance, because all of them are very similar to each other, with like the Game Boy and the NES and the Game Boy Advance and the SNES respectively. But then once we get to the 64, you start running into hardware problems, where a lot of things emulate well, but some things not so much.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, welcome to the Vomitorium! Live for number 97, finally, of the main show. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Great. Got my nap in.
Nice.
Got my brief arguing with Lauren Southern in. You know, I'm all set.
Yeah. I had to go for a walk and do some other things. So,
yeah. Oh, I went for a drive.
Oh,
I went to the Spectrum Charter cable store, which is very far away, by the way. But yeah, it was like a 20-minute drive. And got all my hardware. It's in the truck, ready to go.
Nice.
But unfortunately, the apartment's not ready. Stupid. Apparently, I don't know if it's just an excuse.
Like this weekend or what?
It was supposed to be, but the guy said that he couldn't get anyone to come out and clean and paint it. I thought he was going to do it himself, but apparently he wants to hire a painter. Because the walls are all brown. They were recently painted, but they're painted brown. And I didn't even suggest it would have been fine. But he was like, I want to repaint them a lighter color and also do some other stuff. He wants to replace the vanity in the bathroom and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well. And at first I was like, well, I assumed he would at least get the painting done. And if he wants to do the vanity, you know, I could still move in and he could come in anytime and just do it. But apparently he's gotten nothing done. He also needs to replace like the shades and the windows and all that stuff. That wasn't paint on the walls, says GMP. Yes, the walls are suspiciously brown. But yeah, he got nothing done. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not even close to being ready. So I got all this shit in my truck, including now. I went ahead and got it because they would have canceled the order if I didn't get it today. All my internet equipment and television equipment, not telephone. Just gonna sit there, waiting.
At least you have it.
You know, I got a bed. I've got bedside tables. I've got everything ready to go. A microwave. At least I don't have to pay rent. Yeah.
I was running late, and you were like, "Oh, we're not sure if we were going to have it today." I wasn't sure if we were going to be having it today because you had previously said that you might be moving this weekend. But you didn't ever send me anything canceling, so I just assumed we were still running the show.
Yeah. Well, I should be able to get up and running now instantly when I get in there.
You should.
Because I've got a desk. It's right here. It's my desk. I'm bringing it with me. I need to get another one. This one's kind of small. I've got all my cable equipment and my computer, and I can be up and running in minutes or hours. But I think I mentioned that maybe I didn't. Charter has a decent, it's not fiber, but it is still gigabit internet. So
yeah, because with the Spectrum in general, it's area by area on what they do, and sometimes we're supposed to be getting like 100 megs, but most days I'm getting like 60. But yeah, there's some places where you can get like a gigabit, so.
Yeah. Well, and the only downside, and I guess maybe this is a coaxial limitation, is the upload speed. So here on fiber, I got 300 megabit upload speed, which is insane. And then, but when I move there, it'll be 35, I think. But should be fine. Should be great. Just probably can't stream in 4K.
Yeah.
But
the thing is it even worth streaming in 4K? I mean, think about it. Most people can't even watch it. Yeah. And even does Twitch even handle 4K yet?
No.
Yeah. It's like there's no point streaming OBS... it if the output can't actually handle it, right?
Yeah, I mean OBS can upscale it, but it would just be upscaled. So what? 200 up and 20 down? 200K? I assume she means 200K.
No, it's a 20 meg up at the top, so it's 200. I think it should be backwards. It should be 200 down and 20 up.
Yeah, that would be great. Wrong way around. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's what I was assuming. Yeah. Yeah, no.
I was confused.
Ours is abysmal. Like you wonder, like, it was fine when I was by myself. Obviously, I'm back in the room. Everybody's back. That's why we didn't have a show yesterday. It was originally also why we didn't have a show on Wednesday, and I scheduled onto another program in case I needed to like dip off halfway through or for 20 minutes at a time. But they didn't end up coming back until Friday. Everybody's back here. I'm in the room. So now I'm competing for bandwidth again on the farthest end from the routers possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine when I was the only person here. When I was doing a speed test, on average, I was getting 65 down. And here's the worst part. 5.5 up. Yeah. Now, sometimes we were higher, especially in the middle of the night when everybody else in the area is asleep. That probably has something to do with the lines, too, and how stuff happens on the network. But I was getting closer to the 100 we're supposed to be getting at, like, 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And closer to, I think we get, like, 15 up, which, honestly, 15 up at 2 a.m. is not bad if you're the only person using it. But yeah, it's abysmal sometimes. We're supposed to be getting more. Honestly, Spectrum should come out and fucking fix this shit.
Yeah, I assume, I mean, like I said, it would be pointless. But, I mean, at the moment, I could stream at 4K. What is a 4K resolution? But you know, like you said, hardly anyone can watch it anyway.
It's
I'm just looking at
4,000
OBS
diagonally, so it's like I think it's like twice 1080p. And
3840 by 2160.
Yeah,
I should try
that's
that.
twice. That's exactly twice. That's what I thought. And then if you take the diagonal, it would be the equivalent of 4K pixels.
Yeah. I should try that and see if it works.
Yeah.
I don't know if does Twitch support it?
I don't think so. Maybe.
No,
But I think you'd have to be partnered to support something like that. Like I know once you get affiliate, it actually gives your audience the toggle to switch between source and like the reduced resolutions. Non-affiliates don't have that option. But I think like for something like 4K, if it was experimental, only partners would have access to that.
Mm-hmm. Can you stream to Twitch in 4K? You don't need the latest generation. The platform isn't on the leading edge of video quality. It doesn't support 4K streaming as YouTube does. Well, there you go.
I know YouTube does, but it's very weird with YouTube, right? Because you can upload a 4K video, but like OBS doesn't actually do 4K. Like it's just upscaling or whatever. You would need something like either a tricoder, like the actual caster, or you would need like the premium version of XSplit.
Yeah. Now here's another answer from a year earlier that says they technically do support 4K. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, Buck hasn't been around. He's like, why is Marsupial a Neko? Yeah, you got your little Neko Mimi up there.
Oh.
With cat ears. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he's infected.
Must be.
Yeah. So here's something
it just
depressing.
happened.
Remember how we were talking about frickin' Cowboy Bebop recently? Well, I'm not even gonna call it Cowboy Bebop. It's gonna be Cowgirl Bebop. That's gonna be the Netflix.
Cowgirl Bebop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about that not too long ago.
Yeah.
So Netflix dropped a script recently. We haven't had a chance to talk about it. Probably what we would have been talking about yesterday. And it is even more depressing. Right? Because at least with Cowboy Bebop, if you were to make that live action, I think it should still be anime. Go watch the animation. People who haven't. It's beautiful. Animation is much better than live action half the time because you can do fantastic things that you can't do in live action, right? But at least it's something that's very realistic for the most part, aside from like maybe Faye's top not unbuckling ever. But aside from that, it's a very realistic show that you could put into live action if you did like a Guardians of the Galaxy style thing, right?
Yeah.
This show that they just dropped the script for is so fantastic and unrealistic that I don't know why anybody would ever have the idea of wanting to make it in live action. And all they did was drop a picture of the script on a table and say, it's happening, #One Piece. So they're going to make a live action One Piece. And I don't think I could think of a show worse for turning into live action. That would just ruin it in every way. Not even like disregarding looking at the director who's involved. Because a lot of people like to say, oh, it's Netflix, it's going to be a certain way. That's not inherently true. Netflix is kind of like a hands-off production company. You have to look at the individual teams. So I went and looked at the people involved. And the director is one of those guys pushing the standard Hollywood progressive shit on his Instagram and stuff all the time. Even though the initial script was approved by Oda, I doubt it's going to remain as the way the initial script was.
Yeah, and also, I'm guessing he doesn't have any say in the casting. So if they cast a man as a woman or a white person as a black person or whatever, Plus, the director has almost usually has final say. So if they make last minute changes or whatever,
It
like
depends
we're gonna
on what your
make
contract
these
is,
two.
right? Like, as an IP holder, you could inherently make a contract if you were on the project as a consultant to have final say in anything, or else you walk. Very few creators get that privilege because most studios would just say no. But if you're a big enough name that has a big enough property, they would cave into whatever you said because they want the money from the license, right?
Yeah.
Once again, so Oda, though, it would definitely not be working on this project, though, not even as a consultant. He's like, we want to get the script approved, and that's basically it. So they could do whatever the hell they want once they get to filming, because director has last say.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, One Piece fans.
Yeah. Especially, there's a busty redhead. Well, she didn't start out busty. She actually started out pretty flat, but the way Oda was, is like, oh, a time skip. Suddenly, all of the women have, like, fucking G cups now. Or bigger. But, like, one of the main characters, Nami, is a redhead, who later is really busty. So you could count that she's probably not going to be a ginger anymore. The same thing they do to, like, every single redhead.
Yeah.
But this is my problem is... It's the look. Like, how high budget is this going to be? I don't know if you've ever seen One Piece at all. Have you? Like, have you even seen, like, frames, like, panels or anything from that?
No.
Do you know... Do you know, like, any of the general mechanics of One Piece?
No. Not at all.
Okay. Luffy is a stretchy boy.
Pictures. Yeah.
Luffy's a very, very stretchy boy. That's like a core thing of the show. He's changing his shape.
Stretchy.
Like, like how Mr. Fantastic is a stretchy boy. Or how, like, Kamala Khan
See the guy,
Ms. Marvel is a stretchy boy. With the straw hat.
The hat, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, his fists constantly get bigger. He's got, like, really stretchy arms. He even takes different shapes and different power-ups. Like, becoming this big, bulking mass and stuff. That's way later on, though. But he's a very flexible, stretchy boy. That I'm just like, how are they going to get any of this off in live action?
Yeah.
And make it look good? I don't think
it's
they
gonna
are.
be like those Fantastic Four movies, Rise of the Silver Surfer and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, it's gonna be freaking awful. And there's several other problems if they even get to them too.
Do they explain? How did he get this superpower? Is he just born with it?
No, he eats the gum fruit, and anybody who eats the gum fruit has an interaction that gives them some type of problem. Like, it's very interesting too, because he's weak to water because of that. Like, if he gets in water, he just, like, turns to putty, basically. Which sucks if you're trying to become the pirate king and you're on the ocean all the time. It's just like a really, really cool little deal there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast and that redhead. Whew. She's in a bikini.
Yeah, that's Nami.
And then there's a brunette with quite the shirt.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then there's like
all kinds of problems, right? Like, so the Omadas, which are very poorly misunderstood for some reason in translation as just being called homosexuals, but they're basically drag queens. I guess would be like a transvestite type things that have a unique culture to their own, and that's kind of early-ish on, so that's just going to be completely shat on in every way.
Yeah. Who is this thing that looks like a anthropomorphized deer?
Oh, I forget that character's name. But it's characters like that bother me. Right? Because I don't think they'll handle that well at all. Like, they're probably never going to get there. But like episode 700 and something, there's a character named Carrot, who is just an anthropomorphized rabbit. She's a bunny girl. And stuff like that. And who knows if they'll even do anything in order, what they'll crop out and like change things. But there's a lot of characters and they're like, I really don't think this is a bad idea from the very beginning. This whole thing is just a horrible idea. And they can't
Why
even
does
tell the whole
every
story.
anime
Like, the animes
have
are
to be
fucking 900 episodes long or whatever.
Yeah. Why does there have to exist a live action version? Why not just do, I mean, are there One Piece movies? Or is it
Yeah,
just
this
a
is going to
series?
be a show. It does say episode 1. I'm trying to think. I think there were specials. They might count as movies. I don't think they've
Like,
ever
do it-
been to the theater, like ever.
Yeah. Like do a movie, like the Pokemon movies.
Yeah.
If you want to do something like what's wrong with animation? There's nothing wrong with something being animation.
Yeah. Buck even puts
Ridiculous.
out that Marvel's even changing Miss Marvel's powers for the Disney Plus show because the budget can't handle the way like you've seen her fist grow. That's pretty much like the exact same way that they draw Luffy's fist and stuff like that. If Disney Plus's budget can't handle it, what's Netflix gonna throw at it to be able to handle doing that shit?
Or like do something like the way Pokemon does, where it's like do another series, or like like the Transformers. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but the Transformers War for Cybertron series, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a reboot, retelling of sort of the beginning, and I thought it was awesome. No live action required. No humans. There were no humans in it at all, which
Aside
I think was
from
perfect.
the people working on the show. There were voices.
Well, I mean, in the show.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying there are no humans in the show.
No, could you imagine
all-
if there were literally no humans in the show and like all of the voices of the characters were different modulated like text to speech using like Vocaloid programs?
Yeah. I'm sure.
That would be the most authentic robot show you could ever do.
Yeah, there you go.
It would be like I kind of actually liked. I know some people didn't. I think most people found it charming in the first Michael Bay movie when Bumblebee's voice box was like damaged, so he had to talk through the radio. I liked that. That was cool. He felt more robot because of that as well. It was very interesting. There was a certain charm to it.
Yeah,
I'm glad
and
he
then
was
at
the
the
only
end-
one though. That would wear very thin if every single Transformer was talking to you through the radio.
And then his voice gets fixed at the end, and then in Transformers 2, it's back to the radio thing again.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That didn't make any sense. I wish they should have just like, oh man, it looks like the circuits are too damaged. I can't fix it. That would have been the better way. It's like, okay, well, now we can keep. I think part of it too is they didn't know they were making Transformers 2 when they finished the movie.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. Like, it's a Michael Bay movie. They expected a certain number of people to show up. I mean, especially after like Armageddon stuff, he was a box office seller. But and Transformers, established property, I don't think they realized how much of a blockbuster it was going to be. Like it was a smash hit around the world. Like freaking Chinese really like Transformers. That is like, we can make sequels.
I know my sketchbook does not like the War for Cybertron Netflix series. And I would say that the first 2 seasons were better. The third season had really weird voice acting. Like, what the hell happened? I don't know what happened, but
Well, you have to look at some things. The first 2 seasons were before AT&T and Warner started doing major cuts over at Rooster Teeth. the third season was after, and Rooster Teeth was the animation department for that trilogy.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, didn't they have the same voice actors?
Not all of them. Some of the characters changed.
Or I wonder if the animation affected the way they talked, because it was like, for some reason, everyone talked so slowly. Like, did they screw up the animation and then they had to match the lip flaps or whatever? I was like, what the hell happened here? Like, season 3 was just weird.
It was just a mess.
Yeah. And the wrong, yeah. Okay, so I'll give you, season 3 sucked, totally. I personally liked seasons 1 and 2. I don't know what happened in season 3.
Still, though, you blame, who is it? Who owns Transformers? Is it Hasbro owns them, or here?
Yeah, I think Hasbro.
Yeah. They have their own Transformers department. We were reading about this last time. They handle the budget and production of all of these different shows there. Mm-hmm. Every show done for Transformers is under that production group, which is why you have to dig to find who's actually doing the animation and outsource. So ultimately, you still blame them because they're the ones that chose those teams, and any production issue comes down to these people are supposed to be managing it. So if they choose Rooster Teeth for animation, if they choose to go to this company for the voices that aren't the mainstay people, because obviously Optimus Prime always has to be voiced by the same person. If they choose all these things, it's still their fault, no matter what the individual small company's problems are.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, there's no need. There's no need to do a live action One Piece. The original Beast Wars
did have some pretty bad voices. Beast Wars sucks, okay? Like, I think I've read about this before. Go back and watch it. That show fucking sucks. It has not aged well at all. Not just the animation, but even, like, the plot line from the show. What were they thinking when they made Beast Wars?
I never watched the show. I never watched Beast Wars.
No, Rick, the original Beast Wars did not have great voices. I will fight you to the death about this. That show is fucking sweaty balls. Oh, Colin didn't do anything for... That would explain that, too.
Yeah,
he didn't do anything for that, yeah.
None of them were the original voices.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure.
Which, at the end of the day, you can still blame... What, you just watch? No, dude, that show fucking sucks, okay? That's fucking nostalgia. Beast Wars is awful. But, like, what was I saying? you still blame the parent company if Colin's not doing the voice, right? Because that's their decision. Yeah. They didn't budget it. They didn't get them in for the recording. At the end of the day, it is always the production company's problem. No matter who's directing it, no matter what the cast, what the crew do wrong. Because the production company is the one paying for everything. They're the ones that make the decisions on who they hire in the first place, who they outsource to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bring it on. Yeah, dude, no, Beast Wars is the worst Transformers property. Period. End of story. I don't care. It's even worse than the freaking War for Cybertron thing. That thing has aged like a glass of milk that somebody took a dump into.
Is it supposed to take place like long after the original, or is it completely different universe, or what? Beast Wars thing.
Like, Beast Wars is like a fucking fever dream the entire way through. The last time I watched it, I actually watched it with Buck because he has it, right? And we were watching it. Buck, we were watching it together, right? And he just hops in the last time.
Yeah, last time you watched it was with me.
Yeah. And I was complaining about that thing the entire time we were watching it. Like, that thing is shit.
And to answer your question, Marsupial, at the whole placement of it is really weird because it happens both before and after the original Transformers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know
They are. Well, it's like they are longtime descendants of the Autobots, but and Decepticons, but they end up on Earth long before the Autobots awaken from their hibernation.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like in War for Cybertron. There was some time shifting shenanigans going on. Time traveling.
Bring in Rick, let him defend his position. I don't have to. He should actually. I think I renewed it, didn't I? Let me look. I may have forgot to turn on all of the civs to be able to come in after the last guest that we had after Flit. When Flit came in that day, I made sure that nobody but the ambassadors could. So let me make sure the civs can get in. But Rick has the ability to come in anytime he wants, if he wants to defend it. He's not going to be able to defend it, though. That's the problem. Because there's literally nothing he can say to defend the show. The people who like it, it's all nostalgia.
See, Sketchbook seems like he wants to defend it.
Yeah. Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean... Dude, the animation is horrid. The plot is fucking stupid. None of the characters make any sense.
The animation is very... early CGI.
The plot is stupid and incomplete. You forgot that part.
Oh yeah, it's also incomplete.
Even when they had the follow-up series of Beast Machines, they never explained the end of that show.
Dude, Beast Machines was even dumber. At least the animation was better, but like as a show, it was even dumber.
Yes, I agree. Beast Machines was worse than Thing, but I say Beast Wars was still good. Yeah, at least it followed the G1 timeline, unlike all these other ones.
Well, first off, talk about plot. The original G1 plot's not that good to begin with, right? I mean, there's some good things about the original show, but like, if we're going to plot, G1 has some of the worst plot out of Transformers.
Yeah, well, I don't think there was ever meant to be a major plot. You know, cartoons did not have major plots back then.
Yeah, they were very episodic.
You know, it was just... They just had a basic premise in this case, it's, good robots versus bad robots that, can transform into various different things,
Yeah. Like, it didn't really pick up a major plot until, around the time the movie was coming out?
Even after that, they didn't have major plot. You had a plot for the movie, but they didn't have and they went into stuff after the movie, like all the stuff around, with Hot Rod and all that, Rodimus Prime.
What is this?
But again, they still didn't have.
Oh yeah, this awful ass stuff.
That looks awesome. Look, there's no backgrounds.
Is it? Yes. No. I'm not even saying no Transformer show is great. You want to actually meet something that has good animation standards, a solid plot all the way through, consistent voices, and is like something I would recommend to kids. Go back and watch the Unicron trilogy of series. Yeah. What they call the Unicron arc. That one actually was a very solid cartoon overall.
Looking at it now, the animation could have been better, but this was at the beginning of CGI. Computer.
Well, another problem why it's aged so bad, we were watching this on like a modern flat screen HD TV, right? Some of like the horrid of this was disguised from being on a CRT, much like how like my webcam is projected right now, right? Like you don't see these like really poorly rendered sharp edges on everything when it's on a CRT TV.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Now, the first season of Beast Wars was probably the best, in my opinion. Season 2 was not too bad, but I think it did get worse in Season 3. They keep changing things, and I think that's what messed it up a lot. Plot-wise, anyways.
Yeah.
You know, they should have just kept fighting back and forth. You know, because at the end of the first season, you have them discovering the Ark on Earth, and then yeah, the big thing that got with that, you know, like Megatron, the new Megatron, is like only the size of the head.
And also, Rick, I'm not letting you
Prime.
defend that because yes, it was early CGI. They were bad for the CGI at the time. There were other things that had come out prior or even at the same time that were doing better CGI.
Yeah. Well, they were made by
the CGI for that
as far
was
as I
worse
know,
than the
they
freaking
were-
Donkey Kong Country show.
Well, I mean, but you do have to think about the budget and everything. Like the original Transformers animation wasn't top of the line animation.
No, it
I mean,
wasn't.
They clearly outsourced it to Singapore or something like that.
Yeah. Proportionately,
So-
though, I think it wasn't as bad for the time as Beast Wars was. Because there was a lot of other outsourced stuff that had met like the same standard of animation that the original Transformers did of the time.
And as far as I know, it was being produced by the same people that did Reboot and all that. Quite a few. Probably, I think it was supposed to be one of the biggest, newest CGI companies at the time. So.
Yeah, Reboot's older
So-
too. Reboot hasn't aged very well, but Reboot's also like several years older than frickin' Beast Wars was.
Yeah.
GMT makes a good point. Megatron must have been full of a lot of air. he had a lot of empty space to turn into that like human-sized gun, practically, or maybe slightly bigger. But
Well, there was a
eventually
lot of they had size changing in the original Transformers. You know, like they would shrink or whatever due to whatever size.
Don't forget Astro Train, who went from a guy no bigger than Starscream to being a train big enough to carry every single Decepticon.
Yeah, or Space Shuttle, you mean? But yeah.
no, what was the Autobot? It was there was like an Autobot space shuttle guy that transformed into a gigantic.
Oh, are you thinking Skylinks or are you thinking Omega Supreme?
Omega Supreme. That's what I was thinking of.
Omega Supreme at least made sense because he was huge all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Sketchbook sounds like he really liked Beast Wars.
I think Sketchbook is a simp for Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Okay,
Memorable
here's
voice
another
acting.
complaint, right? Same year. I actually just looked this up. Donkey Kong Country, 1996. Beast Wars, 1996. Budget for Donkey Kong Country, the TV show, $1 million. Budget for Beast Wars, $150 million for the whole series. Donkey Kong Country looks better than Beast Wars. Barely, but it does. It's got better rendered backgrounds. The textures on some of the creatures are rendered better.
All right,
This
let's
was
compare.
better the time. And it's it's a marginal difference, but then look at the budget difference
Now,
too.
Donkey Kong Country had a lower budget?
Yeah,
like
much lower.
2/3?
No.
And this came out.
It had like a fucking 1% of the budget.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this came out in the same year?
Same year.
Wow.
Yeah, but
And
they
part
also
of that
were really
budget
trying
was
to
spent on
transform
2
these
songs for
characters
every
too, make it
episode.
so you transform.
That's amazing.
And they did have a little bit to go on first before this came out too. They had the
They kind of had the 3D
Yeah.
models already from the game,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
No, these weren't the 3D models from the games.
Oh. That's he has weird looking
Yeah,
legs.
they are definitely a little different for sure. I will agree, but they had a lot better premise of what to go on. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. Where although yeah, we got apes and all that, in real life, but trying to transform them.
I mean, To be honest, a lot of that premise is just big monkey jump on crocodile and throw a barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to have a debate between Metal and Sketchbook to see.
It's not much of a debate.
Or a fight. I don't know. GMT says Constructicons made more sense. Yeah, at least, they combined to form Voltron.
Yeah.
No,
Devastator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, already bigger people forming the limbs for a bigger robot, that made more sense than one of them just spontaneously becoming like 10 times the size he was a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had, I think it was, well, I'm not sure whether they ever said it initially in the series, but they did have the size changing thing in there. Like, even Soundwave, becoming, as big as he is, becoming, a small little cassette recorder.
Yeah, that was always fucking weird.
Second, like the third tallest Decepticon of them all turns into this tiny little cassette player.
It was a boombox.
Yeah.
Not even a boombox. It's smaller even than a boombox.
Really?
Also,
Blaster
Sketchbook
turned
is
into a boombox.
Yeah, Blaster did. But I think
Sketchbook
he was
is-
even bigger than Soundwave.
Yeah.
as somebody who actually liked Beast Wars a little bit, please don't mention the trans metals. Frickin' Metal Gorilla on a hoverboard was where that show officially lost me.
Yeah.
Well, you and him have opposite
when
opinions.
they transformed,
You thought the first season was like, it started out stronger and then got weaker. He thought the first season was bad and got better at like season 2.
And then season 3 where they put, Optimus Spark inside Primal Spark, and then having him have that major transformation. And they do the same thing with, Megatron. And then
Well, the wacky stuff doesn't lose me though, right? Like, so ultimately, like the size changing things wasn't so much of a problem, even in like the CG, when they were still treating the shows more like cartoons. I will be defensible about that. That's fine, right? The more cartoony something is, wacky stuff is fun, right? Mm-hmm. It's as you start getting more towards serious plot lines, which usually tend to happen the longer a series runs, right? They're like, okay, it's very episodic early on, but then we might have like an actual story arc, like a season or 2 in, right? That's when you start doing the wacky stuff that it just doesn't work as well. But like, I don't think that like the wacky stuff is actually a fair criticism for shows like that, and I'll even defend the shows on that part.
I would have thought Beast Wars would have been better going down the aisle of those aliens that were sort of interfering with Earth, that sort of created a second moon and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching G.I. Joe recently, and they go to an alternate dimension where Cobra has taken over the world. So yeah.
Well, I mean, G.I. Joe is basically
allowed
just
to do
like military X-Men, but they're not the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They got wacky. I was like, whoa, I didn't know G.I. Joe had like sci-fi. Yeah. Well, I mean, sort of, but like crazy stuff.
And with G.I. Joe, each member has their, their unique capabilities,
Yeah,
they're like
they're experts.
They're like the X-Men.
Experts. But they're expert in a field, a minute field.
Yeah.
This is Roadblock. He grew up in a tough neighborhood and had to learn how to fight for himself. Somehow that translates to being able to pick up a car and throw it at someone.
Yeah. But like, again, I don't care about wacky stuff. As long as things are consistently wacky, right? Like, all I ask from a show is that it kind of knows what it is and is consistent about it to a degree. There's like, even if you're consistent about some things, it still just isn't working for you depending on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of why
Yeah.
when my dad watched that G.I. Joe movie that had Channing Tatum,
Yeah.
the problem he had with it was the stuff like the high-tech suits that made them run really fast. And it's like, really? Because to me, that seems like the only thing up G.I. Joe's alley that I'm seeing in this movie.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Well,
my
The
only
G.I.
problem
Joe
with it
movie
is
was stupid. I mean, that scene was pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but as a
Yeah.
whole, the movie was fucking stupid.
my
Yeah.
only problem was they didn't have enough of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
It didn't seem to go along with it, and then, when they came up with their second movie, they couldn't keep consistent too.
Mhm.
All that stuff.
And the characters were just not like
Fun.
The characters.
original enough, or like
Yeah. They weren't different
X-Men-y enough,
either. Yeah.
They weren't different. They were just a bunch of military guys.
Yeah, a lot of them had like the same personality. It's like, okay, what is this person who is the same as the other 6 person gonna do in this circumstance? Well, it doesn't really matter which one you put in that circumstance. They probably all do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, at least, going back to defending Beast Wars, at least, even though I think a lot of the characters were kind of lame in that one, like, they weren't vibrant enough in personality, they were all different people, and even if you closed your eyes and you were just listening to their interactions, the same person could have voiced all the characters, and you'd still be able to tell who was saying what based on what their speech was. Right? Like the decision they were making, how they were talking to somebody. At least the characters were unique people. I'll give a show like that.
Yeah,
The other
like
ones-
Trap, Cheetor, they were all different Dinobot, unique characters.
The only ones I never understood what the difference was Duke and Flint. They're basically the same character, except one's blonde and one's got dark hair. It's like, what is the difference between which one is the leader? I don't even know.
Before you even get into writing complicated plots, that should always be the first thing of the goal. Developing the characters to where, let's say, Marsupial, for the most part, you just have the one voice, right? If you, in your voice, were to read all of the characters on a sheet, then a audience member should be able to tell the difference between the characters, even though only you are reading it off, right? Without you saying the name each time, just based on their interactions, the voice of that character as it's written. That should be the goal. You need to figure out, like, if one person was reading this script through, would the audience be able to tell the difference between all the characters? Once you have that down, then you can start working on, like, complex plots or whatever. Or not even plots, just scenarios you could work on if you're trying to do something that's purely episodic.
Mm-hmm. But we got away. I don't know how we got on this subject, but we were talking about One Piece. What do you guys feel about
Piece, which is honestly a much better show than any Transformers.
There you go.
I don't blame anybody for not watching it, though, because it is too long, it's weird, and it's hard to get into. So you are fully allowed to not like One Piece. I don't even watch it. I just appreciate it for what it is. I've seen enough of it.
Well, that's one thing I was gonna say is that I've seen moments that looked interesting, but I'm not watching all the episodes I'd have to get caught up.
Dude, it's such a big ask to get in one. And I hate it when people, like, try to demand people get into One Piece. It's like, listen, dude, I understand. I appreciate the show. I get what it is. I'm somewhat on your side. But it is a huge fucking ask to get anybody into One Piece with how long it is.
I think that's a few animes out there, like, what's the name of it?
Dragon Ball's
Dragon
pretty long at this
Ball.
point, yeah. Not as good of a series. It's still, I mean, it's fun, but not as
At this
good of a
point,
series.
just watch DBZ abridged.
Bleach is fucking long.
Have you seen that meme where people are talking about, how can I get into Batman? And they're like, well, there's this number one and that number one and this number one. There's all these different, and it's like Dragon Ball Z episode 1. It's like, there's just one episode 1 or issue 1 or whatever.
I would argue, Sketchbook, that One Piece is way less of a DBZ knockoff than Naruto is. He says, yeah, but what do I know? I like Naruto. Well, as a concept, like, I don't think any, and I won't argue either, I don't think anybody's ever argued that the concept of the Transformers is not fucking awesome, right? Which is why the main selling point of it has always been the toys, right? Like, that, I don't think the cartoon would have been as successful without the toys, even though the cartoon was basically there to sell them. The idea of, like, machines, like your everyday vehicles, turning into fighting robots is a fucking stellar idea, and whoever came up with that, I watched the episode on that Netflix show about, like, behind the toys or whatever, I forget the name, the toys
that made us.
The toys that made us, yeah, that's
the toys that made.
Like, I watched the whole thing, like, that is a brilliant fucking concept. I will never dismark that.
Mm-hmm.
We just rushed into it probably
Yeah.
a little too much. But then again, you know, like, even worse in my opinion is the Michael Bay movies.
Oh, yeah, no, I will not defend those. Except maybe 4. I thought the 4th one was actually decent. It had a level of humor that was more like the series that I knew. That was the Dark Side of the Moon one with Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
That one felt more Transformery in plotline, and even the way some of the characters worked. Wahlberg's character was just a better human companion type character than the way that they wrote LaBeouf's Witwicky. Overall, I thought it was a better movie. It suffers from the fact that to understand what's going on, you have to watch the 3 before it. That's pretty bad.
As a fan of the original humor of the Dinobots, though, I cannot forgive 4 for what they did to the Dinobots.
I agree with that too. I definitely agree with that. That what they did with the Dinobots is probably the most egregious thing in that movie. Maybe even the entire franchise.
I have to rewatch them. I know it wasn't. I don't think I was. I seen it, but I don't think I was. And I don't think I was. I know I wasn't keen on what they did to the Dinobots, but I forget exactly what they did.
Yeah, it was very not memorable.
Yeah.
Basically, turn them. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Basically, they turned the Dinobots into glorified battle mounts for one action scene.
Yeah, that was.
And then the movie immediately after that, Grimlock was basically a giant dog.
Yeah.
There was a movie after that? Did I miss it?
Oh, no, that one was probably the worst movie in the entire franchise, too. It's like, it went uphill slightly, and then it dove immediately back down.
It was the second film that had Mark Wahlberg in it.
There's been about 5, 6, I think.
Oh, The Last Night? Is that it? The Last Night?
I forget the fucking name.
Maybe.
I believe so.
Oh my god. Yeah, after Age of Extinction. Man, I don't know if I saw that or not. Probably not.
Unfortunately, the Dinobots have gotten a few different origins, from what I know. There's their cartoon origin, and then they've got a couple of different origins in the comics, I think, or at least one.
You'd think they would actually, like, go back to the source material, because, like, they didn't talk, right? At least in Age of Extinction. And they clearly always talked.
Yeah, they had, like, weird speech patterns, like they were dumber than everybody else. Not that they actually were, because, like, Grimlock wasn't actually stupid. He just talked like he was stupid.
Yeah.
Like the whole, like,
they turned them into animals.
Yeah.
They did that just because they were, supposed to be dinosaurs.
Yeah, so they wanted to make them primitive. Right? But not even a smaller brain. They wanted to, like, rewind time like they were more primitive. Right? Like a caveman would talk that way.
Stupid. What was the original origin of the Dinobots? I don't even remember. Did they have an original origin?
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, there's, I think, at least minimum of 2. There's the cartoon in which part of the volcano comes out, and they find some dinosaur bones, and because of that, they decided to create Dinobots.
So, like, Ratchet or somebody created them.
Yeah, in the cartoon, but in the comic books, they put them that they were there all along. And I think Shockwave made them. one timeline. I'm not sure how many if how many origins there's been beyond those two.
Weren't they created to counter
do
the
believe,
Constructicons?
As Sketchbook is saying, they were always considered younger, no matter what like origin. They're younger robots. They have no connection to like the previous stuff. They're always like created new.
They weren't created by the Quintessence.
Yeah.
Well, there's, but then again, there's been one that they've been there all along, fighting just as long as like Optimus Prime or whatever too, and they're not any younger. In the comics,
the only version where they aren't technically younger was the one that was eventually. Well, this is the one they decided to use for the War for Cybertron game series. In that they were a elite squad of Autobot strike force, and they were captured and experimented on by Shockwave with data that they'd found from probes that had gone to Earth before they had. So that's the only version of them where they're not technically younger, but at the same time they are, because their bodies and minds were drastically altered, so they might as well be new robots anyway.
Right.
Yeah. But as I said, there's been 2 or 3 different origins to the Dinobots.
Now, the one you're talking about is the Platinum game, right? That you were playing?
No.
No, which one is that?
That was Fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron. They were made... I think it wasn't long after the PS3 really started going.
Okay, so these are older games. Okay.
Yes.
I don't really follow
the one
Transformer
from Platinum.
games.
Yeah. I'll agree with Sketchbook there. The game did Sledge wrong. Sledge was originally the one that turned into the Brontosaurus, but the game version he just got destroyed and never was transformed.
Like, I can't really talk about any of the games, except for, like, the one that I was watching you play. I don't know the story because I didn't watch you play all of it. It just seemed mechanically not that entertaining. It looked like the normal Platinum half-assed the hack-and-slash mechanics because it was a licensed game, so they could get the money to work on the stuff they actually want to work on.
Yeah, the story for that one was basically an episode of the old G1 series. Megatron found something he could use under a city to try and turn Earth into a new Cybertron, so he tried to do that. Autobots came in and stopped him.
Okay.
Which
It
one was
basically
that?
worked like an episode.
Okay.
What?
Was that Fall of
No, that's not the one we were talking about.
Because I have one of them for my PlayStation 3, I think. That I haven't finished. That I would like this.
Yeah, Fall of Cybertron, yeah, I think that was the first one of the 2. It was really high-tech, kind of slightly grungy look to it.
All on Cybertron? Because that's the one that I played. It was basically, it's all on Cybertron.
Yep.
Cool.
It was a good series until the 3rd game.
Mm. Do we want to talk about a different topic?
I do. Because I've just been complaining about how dumb most of the... well, not most. Actually, I think most Transformer stuff is probably better than not in general, but... we've been talking about the dumber aspects of Transformers for like the last half hour now.
That's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so apparently Take-Two is suing freaking Rockstar.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that about?
So, they're suing specifically the team in Rockstar, which is basically all of Rockstar, because they're a big corporation financially, but they're a small team. But the GTA creators for reverse engineering Project RE3.
And RE3 is what?
RE3 is I think it's what's it called?
Resident Evil?
It's no, it's not Resident. Take-Two doesn't own that. Resident Evil's Capcom. It's a software that they had.
Oh.
Which it's open source. This is the problem, right? The problem is they're claiming that they reverse engineered an open source program and then started using it commercially.
How do you why would you need to reverse engineer?
I don't know.
Something that's open source. Doesn't make sense.
Well, even if they did, it's open source, thus it's free to.
Well, it depends how the copyright on the open source is, because there's things called copy left, where you're never allowed to use that stuff in a commercial practice, and you also have to allow people to also add on to it. There are actually different forms of stuff when it comes to open source.
Plus, frankly, Sketchbook, I'm not sure if he's what exactly he's referring to, but reverse engineering something is not illegal. That's basically what emulators do. As long as you're not blatantly stealing, like actually engaging in corporate espionage. Like if you buy someone's product and then take it apart, figure out how it works, and then build your own product, that's not illegal.
So
you can reverse engineer.
Basically,
just as long as you're not selling it, right? You're reverse engineered.
No, you can. That happens all the time.
The software was used for allowing GTA 3 to run on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation Vita, right? And the lawsuit that was filed at September 2nd in the United States District Court in California says that RE3 is acting unlawfully by copying, adapting, and distributing the source code to GTA 3 and Vice City without Take-Two's consent.
Now, so now we're getting into open source licensing.
Yes.
And that's a complicated
that's where
issue
we get
because it depends on how you license it. Open source is not all the same. Sometimes you can license it where it's like you can take it and do whatever you want. Turn it into a product, sell it, resell it. Sometimes you have to include certain text in, if you change the source code, you can do that, but you have to include this information that says where it came from or whatever. Sometimes you can't use it for commercial products. Sometimes you can. It's really complicated. There's all these different licenses. There's GPL, there's MIT license, it's really. So it could be valid. It could be valid if they have the sort of license where you can't use it for a commercial product without permission. Then
is there any way for us to find out quickly which sort of licensing that's on it, so we can render a better verdict?
What is it? RE3.
Yes, the Project RE3.
Project RE3. It's a game engine.
It is the active the redo for Grand Theft Auto 3.
Okay, because GTA modding RE3. It's actually on GitHub.
Yeah.
Let's look at the license information.
Because
modding,
Take-Two, with Rockstar, Take-Two is the one that distributed frickin' GTA in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is actually just a fan project, technically, right? So that's what they're suing under. And this will be done in such a way that they can take the code from GTA and Vice City and you could play it on basically any system. Period. End of story.
So wait, isn't this GTA modding RE3? Because you said it's a. Yeah, no, I'm confused because
I probably
it
worded
does
it
say.
poorly at the beginning.
Well, but you said it's a fan project. I think that's
It is.
true because it says we don't under the license agreement or the licensing. It says we don't feel like we're in a position to give this code a license. The code should only be used for educational documentation and modding purposes. We do not encourage piracy or commercial use. It says we don't encourage it.
Yeah,
but
so
it doesn't say.
They're seeking for damages because this will allow people to basically take it and play it on these systems that the game is not intended to be played on. Right. And they say that this was done knowingly, willfully, and deliberately.
Oh, so this
is what's being sued.
This open source was made by.
I worded it very poorly at the beginning. But
the other company?
Yeah.
What's the other company again?
Well, no, this open source was made by former employees there.
Okay. So who are the two companies involved? Take-Two
so
and
Take-Two is the parent company that does the publishing for GTA, which is Rockstar.
Yeah.
Right. So Take-Two is the parent company that Rockstar publishes under.
Oh.
And they're suing.
Oh. So Rockstar kind of did an end run and said, "We're gonna give this out to people so they can figure out how to get GTA 3 to work on other systems without going through Take-Two." Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Tricky. But so are they selling it though on other platforms? That's the question.
No, I don't know what this is. It says it's a copyright infringement more than anything else.
Yeah. So so they're not necessarily. So they're saying that Rockstar's not necessarily, or these developers aren't necessarily benefiting financially, but Take-Two is losing out because this could end up on other systems.
If they create an open source, and you said the license.
I think the real problem too is because the Vita. That's not a problem ultimately because they don't support the Vita anymore. Nobody supports the Vita. It's the Switch, and at the end of I think the last quarter, they even announced Rockstar said fans can look forward to some surprises for the 20th anniversary. They might be putting GTA Vice City and San Andreas on the Switch or any combination thereof. This might be the real reason why they're going after this in general.
Yeah. So the issue isn't the licensing on the open source. It's the fact that the open source project exists at all. Yeah. They're saying that that making this open source takes away from Take-Two because now you can get their products ostensibly on some other system. So it's not the issue that we. Yeah, it doesn't matter what. Just having this be out there. That's what they're suing over essentially.
Yeah,
I gotcha. Interesting. Former devs, Yeah, that is a good question from my sketchbook. Did the Rockstar actually do it, or did the former
Rockstar
developers...
isn't the actual problem here at all.
Yeah, but they're the ones getting sued.
Well, no,
right?
The specifically, it's this creator group that's getting sued.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Take-Two isn't suing Rockstar.
No. I worded it very poorly at the beginning of this.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's this dev group.
So they're suing the former devs. Yeah. Gotcha. That makes more sense. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it makes more sense.
But basically, they're just trying to get this thing taken down in general.
Yeah.
That's the real thing. Reverse engineering projects.
Mm-hmm. It's not even, if they're former devs, they probably didn't even have to reverse engineer. They probably had
possibly
the source code already and just kind of engineered it to work on other systems. Interesting. So Pokemon's not streaming on Twitch.
Oh, did she move over to YouTube? Or we got more people switching
No,
over to
she's-
YouTube? No.
She's not necessarily. She's just on break. But
Okay.
people are speculating because she's been on break for like 2 weeks now, and she's taking another week. So she'll have been on break for like 3 weeks before she's coming back. But people are speculating because Twitch is seemingly in trouble. Seems like
Yeah, Twitch is in big trouble.
they've had 4 big streamers either they kicked off Dr. Disrespect themselves, and then like 3 other streamers recently got new exclusive contracts with YouTube. People that were getting 100,000, viewers a day on Twitch, and now they're not on Twitch at all anymore. And now Pokemon mains will have been gone for 3 weeks, so she's a huge one.
Yeah.
Is she going to move over to YouTube? I don't know. Apparently, she says, to answer Sketchbook's question, apparently she's just visiting her folks in Canada. Just having burnout. Which, here's the thing. When I started looking into Twitch and like streaming on Twitch, what I found is that the way it works, you have to stream every day if you're going to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to be a big streamer, especially 7 days a week, 365 days a year, period. You cannot take a day off or you will get a huge hit. And it is killing these people. Like, they're burning out all over the place. I mean, Asmongold has been saying he's not sure if he wants to stream on Twitch anymore. Pokemon's taking almost a month-long break.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's killing these people. Not literally, but... And yeah, like... and here's the thing. These supposed hate... I keep hearing about these hate raids. This is a brand new thing I'd never even heard about before like a week ago. Is that apparently there's these roving bands of brigaders that just all show up on I guess probably usually the smaller and medium streams, and just like post it with the N-word and F-word and all this stuff to try and get the channels taken down and stuff.
Yeah.
Because Twitch holds the
system will
streamers
automatically
responsible.
flag it, yeah.
Yeah, they'll flag the stream, not the chatters. And Twitch isn't doing anything about it, and it's like I don't know what they can do other than give people the same blocking tools they've always had.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So if you know what words are going to be on there, you can preemptively solve this problem. Which, I mean, the safe way to do it is just find out what's considered a slur to the system, and then just go ahead and manually block all of those words, and it'll stop.
And
people
usually
from
they're
posting
pre-blocked
in the first place. Usually, yeah.
So they're usually blocked without you even doing anything. So I don't really understand how those work, but apparently that's a big deal that's happening now in Twitch. And a lot of people are just saying, "Screw this! I'm going to YouTube," and I am not.
Or go back to YouTube.
Well, a lot of these people were never on YouTube, right? We're talking about a newer generation of content creators that started on Twitch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Asmongold's been talking about burnout, stuff like that. I am not currently a paid subscriber to Pokimane. To answer Sketchbook's question. You just noticed my ears.
Yeah.
Not currently. Currently, Buck says, I am not and never have been a subscriber to Pokimane. In fact, I've never even followed her channel.
Those ears are to get you in that group, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, I am willing. Now, Twitch, I'm willing to sacrifice to take the place of some of these big streamers. If you will just make me a partner, before I actually qualify, and promote me constantly on the front page.
But
that is a
talking
sacrifice
about
I'm willing to make.
So, all online content creation, you're likely to experience some level of burnout. Because if you're not producing regularly, you're not growing. Period. Doesn't matter where you are. But Twitch, to some degree, when it comes to what you need to do to compete and be relevant on Twitch, it's almost like the mangaka grind equivalent of internet content creation, right? We're talking like these people are doing, like it's a full-time job, no less than 8-hour-a-day streams. Some of them are doing like 16-hour-a-day streams, which is not healthy, to be able to do what they do. And it's like, sure, if you were a creator on YouTube and you were just making videos before, you might be spending a total of 8 hours a day working, but that would be split between a bunch of different things, like actually editing, shooting, following up, stuff like that. You're still working, you're doing labor at a normal day job. The problem with these Twitch people is, even when you're a small creator, you can't afford to have somebody help you. You can't afford mods, or hopefully there's community involvement, like you have volunteers in your community that will mod for you. After doing all of whatever streaming you were doing for that 8 hours a day, if you were only doing the 8 hours, you still have to continue working by doing all of the networking and follow-up and stuff that other sites would have needed you to do. You don't really need to do that much effort on almost any other site, even if you're daily. Like,
yeah, and I'm not quite sure I understand why, but like YouTube, it seems like if you do a live stream that's like 4 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, it seems to work just fine on YouTube. Yeah. Whereas on Twitch, it's like you got to do 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you're screwed.
Well, a lot of it has to do with like how discovery works.
Yeah.
On both of the platforms, because it's not a video platform first. It's a streaming platform. So you aren't recommended VODs or anything like that. You're not recommended a streamer when they're not live, right?
Yeah,
so one of the reasons you have to stream for that long is partially for the sake of discovery, right?
Yeah.
And also part of it is to hit your audience, because you want to make sure that your regulars see you at some point in time. So you have to have these really long streaming blocks so you can get all of your regulars as they're available to watch, even if they miss other things. YouTube, on the other hand, is a video production platform. So what that means is even if somebody misses your stream, they can go back and watch it, and it'll be recommended right in their feed. And a smaller stream, maybe capping out 4 hours or 5 hours, is actually better than a 10-hour stream, because somebody is more likely to watch a 4-hour stream all the way through than they will a 10-hour stream. It's like, I'm not going back and watching that VOD.
Yeah.
A 3-hour stream.
Yeah, and YouTube rewards people for doing like 15-minute pre-created videos.
Yeah.
Which you know, you can get in a lot more editing and stuff and make it higher production value, but you know, just throwing those out there, I think gets you a lot more visibility.
And it'll recommend it to you as a VOD too. So like, you don't have to be watching. You'll be thrown the video afterwards, even if you were at work during the time that the person was streaming. Like, as a platform, it's just more rewarding to meet people's schedules, right? So on YouTube, because it's mostly a video platform, it meets your schedule. The platform does that. So you don't have to, as a streamer, meet your audience's schedule yourself. And that's the big problem with Twitch, among a bunch of other things.
Yeah, so I think that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, and I think burnout's easy to get to, because if you don't see any reward in what you're doing, you know, not getting, like new people or whatever,
Well, I mean, a lot of these big streamers do have plenty of rewards, but it's still, it's not.
I'm just saying, even for the smaller ones starting out,
And
I don't
think it's like, the problem's not malice, right? On that end, when it comes to why, like the way you have to work. Most of the bad stuff is how Twitch treats their community. But like the burnout part, that's not Twitch's fault. They're not forcing people into this. It's just a byproduct of how the machine is built, right?
Yeah.
Like the way the algorithm, the way the site is
Yeah.
set up, you have to do this. That's the only way it can work.
Hmm. It's better now. I wish the YouTube. I think YouTube could just like wipe out Twitch if they'd fix a couple of things specifically for game streamers. One of them being, I've completely forgot. Oh yeah, one of them being, and you and I disagreed on this, was the tiered. Maybe I think we disagreed. The tiered partner program, and the fact that on Twitch it's so easy to just become an affiliate. It's so easy and basically become monetized.
I disagreed about how the partnered were tiered. We didn't disagree on how it needs to be made easier again for YouTube to get people into it. We agreed on that. And one of the problems it was the bots and stuff like that that they raised it to the 1,000 subscriber thing. And I do like, if they didn't tier it out, if monetization was just like a flat thing, they could still do something like you need to meet these trust levels in the same way that the affiliate program's done. Like we don't need like
I wish they would do it.
Club hood. We just need to make it easier for people to get back in.
If they would do it exactly like Twitch and just say you have to have this much. Now I don't think that they can do the way Twitch does with like average number of viewers, but they could do number of views. But basically
do that. The problem here's the problem, right? They have to pick different requirements for community trust, because the whole point is to keep like the bots and shit out, right? And you could have bots interacting with each other and stuff. What you need to do is you have to have something in there that shows substantial interaction, right? Yeah. So maybe it's you have this many people participating in the chat over this amount of time, like average chat participants, which they can track that in the metadata. There are certain things they could pick, but they're trying to make sure that things like Family Guy 24-hour streams, like 24/7 streams, don't get monetized, which there's other things too. They don't need to just have positive requirements. They could have some negative requirements too, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you have to go this long without breaking a standard. That's fine. They just need something that's based more on community trust rather than, oh, you need 1,000 subscribers just to even make anything on here.
Yeah. No, heck, as you guys know, I'm going to be trying out Rumble's live stream in about a month.
Yeah.
Seeing how it works. I know at the moment, I'm not sure whether you need to be a certain spot, but they do have like their super chats over there now for live streams.
I would assume
That's cool.
because for live streams, since you have to pay the monthly subscription to be able to live stream, that you should just get super chats right away. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. Rumble is actually a much better functioning site than YouTube in almost every way on the back end, right? It's a better site. The problem is to get access to the best stuff of the site, you have to be a paid like subscriber to it, right? Including like the live streams. Was it like $25 a month?
Yeah, 25 is the minimum. Yeah. They have a few other higher packages.
Yeah, they have higher tiers and stuff, which is good because it also means that you're probably only going to get people that are serious about doing things if you have to pay. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. But because there's a cost of entry, you're going to get much less people trying to get into it, right? Yeah. And I mean even serious people. You're going to... The thing about YouTube is finding the diamonds in the rough, right? That's how it's always been as it was growing. It's most creators are going to be crap. You're trying to find the people that actually are good, that meet your standards. And Rumble's going to have less of that because of the whole tiered subscription process of getting in.
Yeah.
But it also means it's going to limit the audience too, because there are going to be less creators in total, which will have less drive for people to go over there.
Yeah, well, you can put up videos, obviously, over there for free. unlimited
Yes.
videos.
But video isn't the only
whatever,
thing
like-
now, right? There's every
Yeah.
video service. The fact that you have to pay to start streaming is what's going to stop people, because streaming is just the
Yeah.
type of content
So if you
people watch on
pay-
the internet now.
If you pay to start streaming, are you immediately monetized? People can donate to you?
I'm not sure of that yet. I'm hoping that
I would
will be the
assume
case.
that's the only way it could work, because who would pay otherwise?
Yeah.
Yeah, like starting in October, I'm going to be going Saturdays every week. Going to have a drawing stream. A bunch of people, medals. I think agreed to come on when he can, or most of the time. On a Saturday
I said
afternoon.
if I can. You know me and after.
Metal agreed to it. He agreed to put his entire life on hold.
and Sketchbook, I think, said when he can
Yeah.
too. There, just getting a bunch of artists on, talking about whatever, and just streaming. They don't care about your politics over there, so we can say pretty much whatever we want. I think, talk about whatever we want, and
I
I'm
don't think
gonna
we have to
try
worry
for
about
2
politics. Most of the episodes are probably just going to be me and Sketchbook saying, like, no, this show was crap, but this one was good. No, that show was crap, but this one was good. That's just going to be the whole thing the whole time.
Well, it depends on who else is there, because I invited like 25 or 30 different people, and a lot of them, there's about 4 or 5 that said they can probably come every week, and then there's, a bunch that haven't responded yet, and a bunch that have just said, whenever I can pop on, So maybe they pop up once a month or once every other month.
Yeah.
Sketchbook says he wants to be a regular.
Yeah. The thing, like, I'll be a semi-regular, maybe. It'll really depend, and I'll try to be good about it, but it'll depend on the night before, right? Because Saturdays, sometimes I'm up well before noon. Sometimes I'm not up until, like, well after. And it depends on, like, because I work through the night on most things into the morning. So it depends on how early I go to bed that previous one and how much work I got done in that previous night.
Yeah, and that's going to be, starting, I think, 2 your time. It's going to start
2 is fine-ish, so...
I've decided
sometimes.
it's going to start 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so noon Pacific, not
I would say
noon
sometimes
my
it
time.
may not work, because, like, today, for example, which I finished the piece I was working on, but I was up, basically, in a studio, right? Like, I'm in these calls a lot, and it's basically like a studio call. Everybody's working on stuff, until 8 o'clock in the morning is when I went to bed, so I didn't actually get out of bed until around 4 today. That's not usually the case on Saturdays. Usually I'm up earlier than that, but, like, again, it is just, like, it depends on the day and what happened the night before.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, I'm opening it up. It's going to be people come. I'm going to do it through my Discord. Hopefully everybody will know that. I might have to put a thing out, and I'm going to do it for 2 or 3 months on Rumble, and seeing how it goes, how my logistics are, people turning out watching, whether my numbers go up for subscribers. And if it doesn't work out, maybe I'll just end up switching it over to YouTube.
Yeah.
Instead of paying that $25 a month.
Well, like, one of the reasons I agreed to be on it is I do enough drawing from time to time, but I'm also behind on some things. And it's nice to have a dedicated time where, because you're on a show, it forces you to do this one thing that maybe you've been putting off, right? Which is, like, traditional drawing, maybe working on comic pages or whatever. Because I end up doing a lot of digital stuff. Sometimes, like, I'm doing maybe, like, an odd job for somebody that'll go straight to my PayPal or something. Because I do, like, a lot of random odd job work. But, like, I do so much digital stuff that it keeps pushing back a lot of the traditional work that I need to be doing for setting up the comic pages. And if I was on your show, That's another time that basically forces me to do that because I'll just have my camera pointing down at my workstation.
Yeah. Well, the thing too is if you've got digital art to do, you can do that too. You know, I don't care
but
whether
I like
people
the idea
do
of forcing myself to do something at a certain time. Rick, you know how it is.
Yeah.
How often
Yeah.
did you used to run your streams here or like over on YouTube to force yourself to do like your character art and stuff that you don't always work on otherwise?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. It's like working a job where you go to the office. It's nice to have that space and time where it's like, okay, I'm here. This is the only thing I should be focusing while I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a very good thing for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been playing with a few different names. I think I was going to go Saturday afternoon draw along, but I think I'm just going to go Saturday draw along because we're all drawing along together, maybe not the same thing. And anybody out there can draw along as well, you know, to whatever they want to draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, or they can just listen to whatever we're talking about, you know, as we draw along.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to probably go a minimum of an hour. I don't know how long. I think it'll always be flexible to how long it goes, depending on what's going on for the Saturdays for people. You know, maybe it'll only go 2 hours, maybe it'll go 3 hours, maybe 4, depending, you know. It's just...
Well,
I think
that's the thing is definitely at a certain point, if it goes like what would you say? It would be closer to my time, right?
Yeah.
If it goes on for 4 hours, I definitely would have to dip out because on Saturdays we start this show at like 6 my time, so I'd have to dip out before that.
Weekend draw along. Sketchbook is suggesting the weekend
draw. Oh, name's
draw.
the weekend draw. I don't know. Man, my nose is really itchy today.
Yeah, I realized I realized in asking you that you have this, you know, so I know, yeah, if we went 4 hours, you know, you couldn't stay for all 4 hours, you know.
Yeah, I'd probably have to dip out at like the end of hour 3, so I'd have enough time to set this show up. I ran late today. Partially because we went for a walk and it took a little longer to get back than expected. I didn't look at the time when we got back. I thought it was still plenty of time, right? And it's because I went with Buck and he hasn't gone for a walk in a while, and I'm just thinking in my head it took us the same amount of time that it normally does. And then I'm talking to him for a bit and I look over, it's like, oh shit. I'm actually a lot later than I thought, and I had to run over here and set things up real quickly.
Yeah. I've had those days too where, you know, like, especially since, you know, I've been doing it at like 7, you know, my shows, it's like it's 6:30, oh crap.
Yeah. Like I was almost a whole hour off in my head. That's not how long it took us. It's just my whole clock was set off an hour based on how things went, and it's like, oh shit, I need to go run and set up. It's like 5:40 something.
Oh, and the thing is, too, if anybody who's on the stream wants to project it onto their or whatever YouTube or wherever they can, too, you know, I don't care about that, you know.
Yeah.
See whether they can get some.
Yeah, I might.
Something out of.
I might do it over on my personal channel since that's what the few drawing streams I did. That's where I did it. I could always switch profiles over. But yeah. Well, recently we've only been running this show for an hour and a half. There was one brief thing that I thought was a little funny that we could bring up if we would just want to close out with that.
Is it my ears?
I mean, they are kind of funny. No, I was going to say that, I don't know about you, other guys, but I know me and Marsupial have been watching Rick and Morty. Not the best show, in total. I thought this season had been more like the first season, which I really like, so I've been kind of enjoying it. It kind of hit like a slump in the middle so far. But
Mm-hmm.
recently Adult Swim had like this little funny live action video just before the finale, because tomorrow, Sunday night, the last two episodes are going to air back to back for this season. And they did a thing that they just titled C-132, which anybody who watches the series knows that's how they labeled the different continuities. It's continuity number and then whatever it is, 132. And in it, it was a live action sketch or bit where Rick was played by Chris Lloyd. Which is like the funniest fucking thing, because the actual Channel 101 bit that eventually became Rick and Morty was a Roiland cartoon called Doc and Marty. Right, which was, they even kind of match. It obviously was originally Doc Brown and Marty McFly. That became Rick and Morty. So it's kind of cool to see the guy who played Doc also play Rick. I thought that was a little funny thing.
Yeah.
Who did get to play Morty?
Do you have the video?
Yeah, it's a tweet. I can pull it up or whatever. I could send it to you. Let me actually get you the link to the tweet.
No, I can play it.
Oh, did you find it?
Yeah, it's you know who it is? It's the kid from It.
Yeah,
Sort
I
of the main
recognize his
character.
face. Yeah, he was one of the kids. I can't remember the actor's name, but
Here, let me set it to like I usually do. Set it to half speed so you can drink it all in here.
oh, you found like the YouTube link for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually they upload those things in multiple places. But I thought this was pretty neat.
But yeah, there's his basement. Yeah, I couldn't figure out where that kid was from, and then I realized, oh, it's the kid from It.
Yeah.
He even burps. He goes, oh, geez.
It was just this very short little bit. And
yeah, that's it. That was literally
nobody
15
knows
seconds.
what it means, though, right? I think it was just a bumper. Like, I really don't think we're gonna get any more with these actors than this, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Some people think that they might actually have like a fully like finished live action bit, maybe for the finale or something like that. Who knows? But I mean, if this little bumper was just it, that would be fine enough as it is. Like, that's just a cool thing that was done.
Yeah, that's funny. I saw that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Although I've never really, I've watched a little bit of Rick and Morty with over at a different friend's house, but I haven't watched anything from the beginning.
Someone commented, if that became a live action movie, no one else could do Rick better. I agree. They should do a live action with this.
Yeah, the only problem would be Christopher Lloyd be up for doing a live action movie.
Yeah.
I don't think
it would have to be rated R.
Oh,
It'd
yeah.
have to be rated
The
R.
problem is, I don't think you could do a live action, right? With even if it wasn't his age, going back, have you seen Rick and Morty and like the stuff that Rick Sanchez does? I don't know any point in his acting career, he's not like an extremely agile person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when he was younger, I don't know. I don't see him ever actually have played Rick, but definitely in his older age, he's not going to be able to play Rick in something like that. That's why I think it's only going to be limited to like a little bumper or bit like that. I think people are asking for too much and thinking of like impractical things.
Yeah. I mean, it'd have to have a body double and stunt doubles in like every scene.
Galore. Like it'd be better off to pick
like
somebody who's young and to age them up with makeup and stuff to play Rick than actually have
use Christopher Lloyd's voice or something.
Sort of like what they did for Princess Leia in Rogue One at the end.
Yeah.
Or even like you could do this. I hate it when people do this though, because it takes so much away from the actor who portrayed him. But you could do like a full body double with him like superimposed onto it, a la Tron Legacy, with the younger coded version of Jeff Bridges' character, where they just put Jeff Bridges' face onto him.
Or what about like they did with Skywalker in the Mandalorian?
Yeah, it's the same
They
stuff.
did a full body thing. Yeah.
Wasn't that just a completely different actor though?
Yeah, but they got the image of Luke Skywalker put on top of him.
Are you sure?
I didn't
Yeah.
watch
They
the
just had-
scene. I don't know, so
Or I'm pretty
confirm
sure
or
that's
deny
what
that.
they said that happened.
I don't know about that.
yeah, I did watch.
I seem to remember it was just a different actor. I think they just used a different actor.
Yeah,
Just Kept his face.
well, they might have been able to just keep his face because of all the robes that
Yeah.
Luke would have been in, but
It's not like the Jeff Bridges
I don't-
thing, where that actually
I don't think
was
they-
a digital superimposition.
Yeah. I don't think they superimposed Mark Hamill's face onto him.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
they
he
did. It looked like Mark Hamill.
I think they just found an actor that kind of looked like him. But I could be wrong, but I don't know. It's such a brief scene, but I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, well, the thing with Leia is even briefer. The thing with Luke is a lot longer. Probably 2 or 3 minutes.
I thought they just found an actor that kind of looked like him.
Well, I hate this thing though, because eventually it's just going to get to the point that it's, which I've talked about this before on the show. Like, who owns the rights to somebody? How are we going to stop them from eventually just hiring body doubles to stand in place? And then we have a whole John Wayne movie made like decades after his death with his face and reconstructed voice by taking hundreds of lines from him and then turning it into an AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it was Mark Hamill's voice for it too.
Maybe.
You know,
You might be right.
it was his, I believe it's his voice and face, but I do believe it was a body double. You know,
I mean, I don't understand where this idea comes from, where you say you can't accept another actor.
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit. Like, okay, it's a different actor. The actor aged out of the role. Like, people accept that. Like, why do they have to be the same actor?
I don't know.
It's
I
ridiculous.
think part of the problem specifically with them was the response to Solo,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
like, I get it, but that wasn't people's problems with Solo. It wasn't that they were different actors in the role. It was the movie itself and how you wrote the characters. Personally,
Yeah.
I thought the actors that played younger versions of the characters in Solo were fine for what was written for them. Like, I think they portrayed them okay. It's just that none of the characters were really written the same way. That was the problem.
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially
I think
Glover. I loved Glover just did an impersonation the entire time, right?
Yeah.
He was not a problem with that movie whatsoever. It's the different things surrounding Lando, like that freaking robot that had like that weird relationship. Like, it wasn't Glover's performance of the problem. It was the writing and directing around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the sequels hadn't sucked, they could have theoretically had different actors
Yeah. portray
them if it had been good writing. Well, whatever.
I don't know. I think one of the problems is, especially with how digital everything is, when film and TV started, right? It was basically taking theater and putting it in a box or putting it on a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially before they could even add sound. Like, if we go back to the silent films where somebody was actually like playing an instrument like a piano with the key, keeping up with the film and stuff. And they had to do actions that were very theatrical because they had to sell the emotion without the sound. The same thing, like if you're on a stage in the theater, because people might be far away, maybe they can't hear you. You have to do all these really over-the-top gestures to sell it. And film media was the same at the beginning, even when sound came in. But then as like things progressed, they were getting used to sound. It's like, well, now TV in your house, nobody's too far away from the picture, right? Everybody can always hear what's going on. Then we start getting method acting, which is where people start to be more lifelike and less fantastic, right? That's actually where the term method acting came from originally. It wasn't, oh, I live as this character for a month. It's you're trying to be organic and realistic to real life. The term has changed over time.
Well, and we've talked about like the notion of a character actor.
Yeah,
right?
But that's just
basically
a regular actor,
playing
thespian.
Right.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's too many actors who are playing themselves.
Yeah.
You know, you got like every character that, you know, Harrison Ford's a great actor, but every character he plays is Harrison Ford.
There's
it's
a few
like,
that he didn't, that weren't Harrison Ford, right?
Yeah,
That's the
I mean,
thing.
Well,
It's
yeah.
in his later career specifically, though, every character he's playing is grumpy Harrison Ford.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
40 when he played in 42, I wouldn't say that was anything like
Yeah.
Harrison Ford. 42.
I never
It's
said that.
it's about the first black Major League Baseball player.
Yeah.
Well, crossing the leagues, there was leagues, you know.
There was like there's a separate league.
player
He was
on
the
that
first one
white
that
team.
made it into
Yeah.
what they would consider the actual league.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
white league.
Yeah.
No, and he
Yeah.
was good in regarding Henry.
Yeah, no, he's
I mean,
played a
he
lot
was-
of things
Yeah.
where he's not playing himself. It's just that the older he gets, the more and more it's just. But this is normal.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this guy's been typecast. No, he hasn't been typecast. He just plays himself in every movie. They're
Yeah.
picking him to
Yeah.
play himself. Now they're specifically casting people to just play themselves instead of playing a character. But when you go further back, that's all actors used to be, because whether you were on stage or on screen, you were a thespian. That's just how acting was at the beginning of film. It progressed into a different direction.
But it's this notion that the actors are selling the movie
Yeah.
rather than the story or the
Well,
movie
this is what I was
itself.
getting at.
And so that's
Back when things were more theatrical in the classical sense, nobody questioned replacing an actor in a role as long
Yeah.
as they were still playing the role, because you do that on stage all the time. Maybe somebody gets sick, maybe somebody gets a promotion, they move somewhere else, whatever. You're always swapping out leads and supporting characters, but the role stays the same. But the further and further we've gotten away from the theater and moved more into the small screen, the more and more we just got people playing themselves. And if you're playing yourself, you are the role. You can't really replace somebody in that. And they have that idea in their head too. It's like, oh, well, if we're bringing this character back in, we have to get the guy who played that character, or else nobody will watch it.
yeah.
Yeah. Either that, or you got to get somebody who can portray that
Yeah.
actor good. You know, like it's when they went and redid the whole Star Trek cast for the Star Trek movie for which Star Trek, the one a few years back.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they got pretty good characters to
Yeah.
play everybody.
Yeah, there were parts I
you know?
liked about it. There's things I didn't. It was too actiony J.J. Abrams, and one of the cool things about like the original Star Trek, it was a campy sci-fi, but it was also a submarine show just put in space. Because if you go back, there was a lot of submarine shows back in the day. And that was basically just taking that and putting it into space. So you had like a lot of like the Red Alert and the bridge stuff. And
they actually had like intelligent conversations and stuff.
yeah.
Like that. Usually solved problems intellectually rather than.
And in the new
with
stuff, it's
phasers.
just like
Yeah.
action, J.J. Abrams. There were parts of it I liked.
Lens flare.
Yeah.
Well, what I more mean is,
Yeah.
I think it was Chris Pine, who they got
Yeah.
to play.
I thought he did.
Oh, yeah, I
He
think he
did
did
a
a
good
great
job.
job for Kirk. I think he would have done a better job if they wrote him more like Kirk, but I think he
Yeah.
would have done a good job either way. He's a good actor. Another example
Yeah.
I was going to bring up was Men in Black 3. where they had to actually get a de-age or go back for Agent K, but they didn't do any of this like facial grafting technology or anything. The actor was just really good at mimicking Tommy Lee Jones. They did a little light makeup, but even then, like he would capture his facial expressions. They didn't really have to do much to him, and that's acting. Like, and no, like I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job too. It was funny.
Like following him around for a month or so, just like getting all of his gestures and stuff. Is like, how can I be this person?
Yeah, he's basically doing an impression of Tommy Lee Jones. That was great.
And he did it great. That's what we need in the industry. Like, that should have been the standard. I think it's because 3 didn't do as good as the previous 2. So they're like, okay, maybe that's not something people want. It still did okay, though.
Yeah. I doubt that the guy who played Solo in Star Wars Story did that. Like, he really should have.
Yeah, well, they also
maybe
should
he
have
did, but he
more
did it
like
badly.
Han Solo.
Yeah, but he should have followed around, Harrison Ford and just gotten his
mannerisms.
Mannerisms.
Or he should watch some of the stuff, the early stuff, over and over again of Han Solo. Watch that.
I was about to say he wouldn't have gotten many Han Solo mannerisms following Harrison Ford around now. He'd get a lot of grumpy old man vibes.
Well, to be fair, Solo and Ford are two very different characters. Like, his actual personality and the character he portrayed, that was, back when he actually got to act and people weren't casting him just to play himself. He even hates that character, too. But, like, you would be better off watching those movies. But, like, he's an actor. If you were to ask him to, like, go back into the role, he could rewind himself into the role. Right? If you wanted to learn the mannerisms of Solo, if you just hang out with him for a month and be like, hey, play the role, let me get it from you, he would do it. Because that's how actual actors are. Right? That's even the thing with Tommy Lee Jones, because he doesn't act like Kay in his everyday life. Right? In fact, he's a good actor. If you've ever seen Jones in like a bunch of different movies, he plays like a really fun psychopath from time to time and stuff like that. Like, if you really want to capture that mannerism, he has to be doing the character for you to capture it. Right?
Yeah.
So, the problem is less of that. The problem is the directors didn't want him to be Han Solo. That's the real problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ford even did a good job when he replayed it in, Force Awakens?
To a degree. He wasn't written as Solo, even compared to what the past should have been in between. But he did try to, like, work himself back into that character instead of just playing himself in the role.
Mm-hmm.
That's my problem, too, is, like, people try to complain on actors, and outside of the few cases where, like, you actually see them bitching about stuff on Twitter, where you're like, okay, you probably are the problem. For the most part, actors are just, they're doing a job, right? Some of them are probably even better than some of the roles they're in. Because at the end of the day, it's up to the director to make a cohesively good movie. And if an actor's getting bad direction, there's only so much they can do. Because they need to do what the director tells them to do. Sometimes an actor fixes a scene, too. But usually you only get that when an actor's been around long enough that they have clout and the director's like, okay, this guy knows what they're doing. You can have like this really talented young actor coming in. It's the first thing they're doing. Nobody's going to listen to them. They're just like, do what I tell you to. This is your job. You're getting paid. It's your first role. This might be your breakout, but only if you listen to me. And they're like, okay.
Yep.
Well, and it depends on the director, too. Sometimes the director will listen to that first timer, although he knows a little. Maybe he's gotten to know his character a little better than the director, because the director's got to figure out, 50 different characters,
Yeah.
That might be a slight exaggeration.
Yeah, but, that just goes back to what I was saying. Depends on the director. Are they a good director or not, right? That's still what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like, that's the point I'm trying to get across. Like, a good director knows how much goes into everything. They're experienced. They understand. It's like, okay, that actually sounds better than what I was going to do. Let's go with that instead. So it's really the director's fault and also the production's fault. Like, you have to blame the producers of anything. Because even though the director has final say, the person who supplies the money has the final say at the end, like, overall. Anybody who knows the history of the last Airbender movie knows that the people providing the money can completely fuck a project.
Yeah.
Like, there's some problems that were Shyamalan with that, but the more you look into it, you're like, oh man, even his original script wasn't that bad. The production company was the biggest problem there. Right, Buck? With interjecting certain producer's daughter into the movie to play a character that she had no right playing.
Yeah, they even said in interviews later how they had to go against their original cast for Sokka strictly because the two couldn't look like siblings.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you know, I don't think Shyamalan's that great of a writer anymore. I think he's still probably a fine director, but most of his writing talent he left back in the 90s. The more you find out about it, the less and less you blame him for that movie. Like, oh man, you were in a lose-lose situation there, buddy.
Well, especially, like, they wasted so much of the budget on CGI that didn't even look good. Like, they couldn't even go out to the areas they were supposed to originally shoot the movie in, and the actor who is playing the main character is the traditional stage actor, so the green screen threw him off.
He got cut off because I heard the ring. There's probably a noise going there.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, that kind of wind chime. That's the notification for the ring. His dad,
okay.
ring. His dad probably just came in. This is about the time he comes home on Saturdays. Yeah. But yeah, everything about that movie is a fucking disaster. And people need to understand, a lot of times it's the director or the production company that's more of a problem than almost anybody else working on the film. That's where you have to point your ire to. And again, even if the director's the problem, it's still, like I said earlier with the Transformers thing, it's always the production company's fault. They're the ones that supply the money. They're the ones that hire the people and choose who gets into things. If there's a bad cast, you point that at the casting director, but then you point that back even further. Well, who hired the casting director? The production company. Right, so
Yeah.
I think with that, that's the end of the show. That was kind of the last topic I want to talk about. 2 hours is fine. We've been running things shorter, especially because we're actually going to play tomorrow. Hope, like, you know, Buck's here. We can go back and we're going to have our
even with Labor Day and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we may or may not have Dillard, but that's kind of usual. And because we never know if he's going to show up, that's why I really didn't want to do it without Buck. You guys are like 98% sure you're going to be in a boss fight within minutes of starting the next session, and I didn't want to throw you guys into that with like 3 people.
Good.
So yeah, thanks for joining, everybody.
Yeah, especially with one character probably not healing my character now.
Yep, especially for getting to a heated discussion. I actually really don't care as much about Transformers or Beast Wars, but it's fun to get heated. You know, especially for a show that I do think is trash. But, you know, you can like what you like. And if you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else who might enjoy it. If you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium live. As you can see, the bar has been reset, and our monthly hosting fees need to be covered. So, you know, it's a 0 out of 30.
$2.
Anything helps, really. And in the meantime, we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.